Welcome to MLS on the Bench podcast.
Hello and welcome to the bench. It's another episode of MLS on the bench with Letter Emmanuel. Last week we talked about the balance of the bench and we had an amazing guest with us who poured her heart out in terms of sharing on how to balance your work ethic and your own life and also your diligence to the work. If you've not listened to the episode, do want to please check it out on YouTube or Spotify at MLS on the Bench podcast. Now today we have a special guest in the house. She's a scholar. Yeah, she's a scholar because she's going to take us through our topic today that says the A game from books to bench. You agree with me that the educational part of MLS is the foundation that shapes you into the scientist that you'll be in the future. If your educational background in the profession is shaky, you may struggle a little in excelling. But being brilliant doesn't automatically always translate to being good on the bench, does it? We have an amazing session lined up for you guys. As you listen in, do hope to share this podcast with someone who you love to increase their A game. Before we go into it, if you can guess, the A game actually stands for academics. It's actually, so today's episode is dedicated especially for undergrad MLS students and young graduates. So, a little bit about our guest. She's a medical laboratory scientist by profession who finished from University of Benin and interned at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. She currently practices in the city of Abuja, and beyond the bench, she's a graphic designer dedicated to producing high quality designs for her clients, and also she likes to be known as a lover of God. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bench, MLS Irony Blessing.
Hello everyone, so welcome to MLS on the Bench podcast, and I'm your guest for today. My name is Blessing Ometere Ayene.
Glad to have you on the bench. So we're going to go right into our questions for today. Now the first question is, we'd like to know what's your relationship with books like. You know, there are some people who reading comes natural to them, while some others you have to really struggle to get your grade just to assimilate the information to actually now pour it out. It's not easy. So how was it for you? What's your relationship with books like?
Looking back at my undergraduate days, I would say, thankfully, thank God, I'm quite a student who naturally understood most things easily, but you can't just rely on just natural understanding. You still have to put in some effort, even when you are gifted or skilled or blessed by God, because of course the Bible says that He has given us an excellent spirit, but you still have to make sure you put in the required effort. There was this thing they always said in school, that you should pray as if you never read and read as if you never prayed. So I actually gave in my best to each course. So I would say for each grade that I got in school, it required effort and it also required prayers, and it's also going to be glory to God for crowning my efforts with success. So for my relationship with books, I tried as much as possible to study often. So most times I would study like when the semester is still like fresh, like maybe that first 1 month of the semester, I would already start studying. And I paid really good attention to my lectures, so I did not skip lectures for anything. I was always in class, because whenever I'm being taught in class by my lecturers, their examples, the atmosphere of like learning and everything, it helps to make whatever I'm being taught to stick better. So when I go to read my books, maybe study, and even the PDFs, the handouts, or even documents online on YouTube, it always tends to stick better because I can relate it to what my lecturer already spoke about in class. So that was how my relationship was with books. Then I remember one of my friends would always say that sometimes in between classes I can just actually be studying my books, like just reading something that I had already learned before, or I could even be doing my assignment in class, and thereby I'm saving time to read other things when I get home.
Wow, that's a really nice one, and it's truly we acknowledge the grace of God in our endeavors. So moving on again, One thing about MLS is the volume of materials you get to consume. Yes, we know that other fields have their own volume, but in MLS, there's volume of materials to be read, from histopathology, chem parts, MMB, the mother of them all, as some people used to call it, and also hematology as well. So this often puts some form of pressure on a student. What's your practical advice for a student that is drowning in so much materials and they don't know the next step? They don't know how to prioritize. They don't know how to segregate their learning.
So, my practical advice for anyone who is drowning in handouts right now is to start from somewhere. Yes, you don't have to be so confused reading everything all at the same time, but start from somewhere. And for me, I always like to start from my favorite just so that I can get that ginger for reading. So, for instance, if I like to read chem parts, I will start from chem parts courses and then get to read it. Then in between I can like say, okay, for today I'm going to take this chem parts course, maybe MLS 314, and then later I'm going to read an hematology course, maybe MLS 416, something like that. So it's always that kind of balance. I try to balance it most times. And yes, there's also another thing I would say. As a student, you cannot conclude that anything is too difficult because you need it to pass your exams. So don't ever zero your mind from any course. So far people are studying it, they don't have two heads, so you too can study it. Well, you only need to put in more effort. If you have to check YouTube. If you have to go for extra classes, go for extra classes. If you have to maybe meet a colleague, yes, I did that a lot. If you have to meet a colleague, you meet them, maybe do some group discussions together, and that usually goes a long way.
Wow, that's actually right. Thank you very much. I believe you are taking notes if you're listening, dear undergrad, because this episode is especially dedicated to the undergrads of MLS Nigeria. So please do share with a fellow undergrad or recent graduate. Now, I'd like to ask, as students, the Nigerian educational system has something they call la cram la pour. You read after exam, it has wiped out. As MLS professionals, this doesn't help us, because you need to actually assimilate that so that you can execute on the bench. So what is one specific learning technique that helps you actually retain knowledge in the long run?
Okay, so yes, the lacram lapo is actually very true, and I would say the Nigerian education system kind of promotes it because you have a lot to study within a short time. So your normal instinct will want to tell you to just cram it and pass the exam. But well, the sad part is that if you just rely on la cram la pour method, when you get to the bench, you won't be able to defend your grades. You might have good grades, best graduating student, and all of that, but then you can't even defend your grade on the bench. And MLS is such a, let's say, such a course that is planned to make sure you know what you are doing, because even during your internship they would easily tell who actually studied well in school and deserved those grades, or who actually did la cram and la pour. So I would say, in as much as the system does not really help, and sometimes you may want to go the way of la cram la pour, I would not really advise it. You could still maybe read, for example. I might not really expect you to know everything that was there. You might forget some after the exam if you do not have much time to study, but at least you should know the basics, know the fundamentals, because when you know those fundamentals, even when you're on the bench and then with just a little brush up, you'll be able to remember those things. But when you just like only you're just interested in cramming it and passing the exams, and that's all, you don't even go back to read it even when you have the time, that's where the challenge is going to be in. So yeah, you have to try to retain your knowledge for longer term. There were some things that we use. Sometimes we use mnemonics, like the common one that you knew in secondary school, Mr. Niger D. Like even till now, I can't forget that. So use mnemonics. Try to associate them with pictures if you have like a very photographic memory. Things like that. Just what works for you. So use what works for you.
That's a good principle. Thank you very much. Yes, I agree with that. And not everybody actually knows that this is actually a very powerful thing to do. Thank you very much. So many students get A's in theory, right? Some people like get good grades, but in clinical postings sometimes they get to struggle. Did you ever experience that, or how can a student study with the bench in mind?
How do you study with the bench in mind? So for me, I know that I'm not just learning for learning's sake. I know that my course is very practical. So, in as much as I want to get good grades, I also want to be sound as a scientist. And I thank God for where I am today. So, I would say that for students, thank God for the way the MLS calendar is structured, that you do postings, like in my school, Uniben, we do postings in between classes. Let's say Monday and Tuesdays can be for clinical postings, then Wednesday to Friday are for classes. So because you are going to the lab for posting the first 2 days of the week, when you come back to class, you would understand what is being taught more. And if there's any place you need clarity, you could ask questions as well. So that helps a lot to bridge that gap between the theoretical part and the practical aspect. And then also when you go to the hospital, you might remember something that you've been taught in class. So always try to make your learning interactive. Ask your chiefs questions, ask your senior colleagues questions. Tell them like, oh, this is what they taught you in class. Is there really a clinical condition like this? What is the patient showcasing? What are the signs? Okay, when you see a, let's say, a bilirubin result that is high, and you've already been taught how bilirubin is formed, you've already been learned about liver function test and all of that, you can easily correlate it, like, okay, oh, so this is what that pathway actually meant and all of that. So that's it.
That's actually a good principle. Okay, now we also hear the word mentorship a lot in general society. We talk about having a mentor. In MLS, the conversation of mentorship is not really so popular as it were. But what does a good mentor look like to you in MLS? Is it just a senior colleague, or is it something deeper?
So a mentor is both. Is a senior colleague, and excuse me, and it shouldn't end in just being a senior colleague as well, because a mentor is someone you look up to. You might have a senior colleague that does not even like MEDLAB. Maybe the person has other plans, like other career aspirations, and the person is not even serious with MLS. So that cannot be a good mentor, for instance. But when you have a senior colleague who is grounded both academically and on the bench, that is already like a sign of a good mentor. And a mentor who also has good values, who is willing to teach, who is not trying to hoard information or hoard knowledge from you, that can be a good mentor. So, and for a mentee, that's you that's looking up to that mentor, you need to let's say, put yourself in a way that you are teachable. Ask questions, get closer to the person, be polite, be humble. These are like basic traits that makes people want to teach you or even want to draw you close to themselves. But when you are rude, you don't even greet them when you see them at work. You don't even help them do anything. Even when they ask you like, oh, please help me write maybe reference ranges on this result form, for instance, or oh, help me spin that sample. You don't even want anything to do with them, and then later you want them to become your mentor. So it does not work that way. You have to learn to serve as well. You have to learn to serve. You have to learn to ask questions, be proactive, and be willing to learn. Yes, it always starts with a desire to learn. Getting a good mentor starts with a sincere desire to learn.
Okay, and for a shy student or intern listening to this but and admire the senior scientist but is afraid to approach them, what's the best way to ask for some form of mentorship without being seen as disrespectful or over demanding.
So, like I said earlier, a key trait in getting a mentor is to be respectful. So you have to approach them with respect. When you see something you admire, you don't just push it aside or condemn it or stuff like that. So you have to approach them. You might not necessarily tell them, oh please, I want you to be my mentor, for instance, but you can just show signs sometimes, like ask them questions, help them out. When you see them working on a bench, go to that bench if you are less busy and stay around with them, work with them. In the process of working with them, you are seeing what they do. In the process of seeing what they do, you are asking questions. And before you know, that person has already taken a liking to you, and gradually from there, yeah, you just kind of become their mentors. And then if you want it more official, after you have gotten close to them, you can ask them like, oh please, I would like you to mentor me in this area. So like for instance, where I did my youth service, there was this scientist that came around. He was more like a consultant because I was hearing doctor this, and I was thinking he was a medical doctor, until later I found out that he was actually like, he had a PhD in MLS already. So he came as a consultant. That was the first time I knew that med lab scientists could even be consultants. So he came, and before you know, like after, like I met him one day, I just introduced myself to him and all of that. Then I told him that like, oh, I heard that he's into this and this, and I'm also interested in that area. That can he put me through? I told him like this is what and what I've done in that line, or this is what I have in mind. And from there, like we kind of just became close. There was a day he was having a meeting with some of his mentees, and then he told me that he's having a meeting right now. Do I want to join them online? And that was it. Like I said, yes, of course, thank you very much, sir. And I joined online, and then he made an open invite to me that like, if you want to join my group officially, you could join as well. And of course, I took the offer. So that was like my first, will I say, official mentorship group, and I'm on the group now, and it's been amazing. I'm getting to learn some things and all of that. So that's how sometimes it can get official, but it all starts with that approach, that zeal to learn, that humility, that respectfulness.
That's fine. That's great. That's great. That's great. Now, I want to also ask the big question for most people, especially once people graduate after NYC or before NYC. Some people will say, once I graduate like this, after internship, NYC, after NYC, I'll go and practice or masters. So, what do you think should influence that decision? I believe you have passed through that phase a little. Do you think going to masters is great first or getting the work experience?
So currently I'm done with my NYC, and yes, I have the interest of getting my masters, but currently as well I'm applying for the masters, but I'm not just sitting at home applying, I'm also working. After my NYC, I applied to other places, and I'm working in a laboratory now. So I think if you are going for your masters, if you have the funds, of course, maybe after internship or after NYC, you can just pay for it and go for your masters. But if you are looking for maybe funded opportunities and scholarships and all of that, you might want to work first, because sometimes these things don't just happen the way you want it immediately. It could take some time. So in that time, make it productive, because anytime you spend getting those work experiences, you would see that it's actually boosting you. Like my CV currently now, it cannot be compared to when I just finished from school, because during my internship I gained a lot of experience. My NYC, I gained experience, and currently now again, this is going to boost my CV. So when you are adding these experiences, when you are now applying for masters, they see that yes, you have done a lot, and then during those work experience, you could also do more than just working by volunteering in things, maybe joining groups, getting certifications, getting awards and all of that. So those things help to boost your application in future. So yes, don't just sit and say you're waiting for masters. I would advise you also go ahead and start working, but don't let it distract you or discourage you from pursuing the masters, because currently in Nigeria, masters is like becoming very, very, very important. It's not just because you want to get it. It's not a luxury. It's something that you need, because very soon now you will start saying that the qualification for certain levels, they would say it's an MSc at the least. I've seen some job opportunities like that, and they required an MSc. Even some they will require PhD. So most of these things, as the world is transitioning, as the world is growing, a lot more people are getting their MSc. So you would not want to just be left at your BMLS certificates. You would want to go for an MSc.
Yes, I agree with that. Now, for those who decide to simultaneously work and study, how do they balance both further studying or even further research for those of us that like going to research?
So for those who want to work and study, it's just like when we were in school. We're kind of working and studying because we are going for postings and we are studying. We're going for postings, we're writing exams. So it has always been like a work study experience. And the truth is that that's one thing I learned after school. It doesn't get easier the higher you go, but you are the one who let's say who gets more trained and competent to handle things that come your way. So that's just the truth. So when you are going further in life, working and study simultaneously is something that you may just have to do. Yes, you might not be able to run away from it, because even when you are studying, you might also want to have money to still take care of your personal needs and all of that. So it's all about prioritizing your time and balancing things up, because you know you have to work and study. I don't expect you to like be going for every party that you are invited for. Because you are working and studying, I don't expect you to be watching movies 2/7 like maybe you would when you were on holiday during school. So that's just the balance that you have to put. So it's a lot of sacrifice. You have to cut down on certain things that would distract you. You have to cut down on those things, and then put in your time to actually um study and to do your work as.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Such a powerful way to engage. I'll still ask, please. I'll still ask, what's when you talk about getting more degrees now, so when you talk about getting more degrees or certifications, some people think it's just for title sake. What does it really bring? What do you think it really brings from your perspective? What does this extra learning bring to the table as a med lab in view of other um, health professionals and even in terms of income on society and the rest?
This cannot be overemphasized. The truth is that the more experience you gain, the more qualifications you gain, the better your pay. Actually, I'm not going to be receiving the same salary with a med lab scientist who has an MSc. That person's salary will be higher than mine, obviously. So the more career growth you get, the more academic qualifications you get, the better your income, and the more respect you get. Like compared to the man I talked about, like the consultant med lab scientist who has a PhD and a lot of publications and all of that, he gets more respect than I do, obviously, and he still gets more respect than even people with just an MSc. So that's just how life works. The more you gain this accomplishment, this career achievement, this academic achievement, the better you get your income, the higher your respect and your leadership in the hospital setting. For example, if they are looking for a laboratory manager, for instance, they are not going to pick you that is just graduating or that is even having just a BMLS, even if you have 5 years experience. If they see someone with 3 years experience but has a PhD, they are going to pick that person over you. And then even when you don't even have some of these academic achievements, your career experience also sells you very much. If you've worked in like maybe 5 different places, you've held key roles, you've gotten like 6 years experience, you are going to be better placed than someone who has maybe an MSc degree with just 2 years experience and in only one particular laboratory. So you see, that's how it works.
Wow, thank you. That's a great one. Awesome. Okay, so I'd like to ask some rapid fire questions. Physical textbooks or PDFs?
Textbook or PDF or YouTube? I would say YouTube, because it's so practical and like you can see it like in real time. So I really love using YouTube to learn.
Best course in university?
For me, it was history, like everything history. And why I would say history was difficult for me was because it was not very practical. I'm someone that likes to learn through seeing. I like to learn through a very practical basis. So I like to see what I'm being taught. Maybe if you are telling me staphylococcus should look like this, you are showing me how it is under the microscope or in the culture plate. So I like to see. That's when I can retain properly. So histo was not very practical because we are not even viewing the slides for histo, and we don't get to like really stay much in the histopathology lab. So it was not very practical for me, especially the theoretical part. But when I did my internship, the histo was actually a bit better. So that's how I got to like understand more about history through my internship. But if it was based on academic parts, I just had to read history just to get the good grades, but I did not really like it.
Night reading or early morning reading?
I would say I'm a mix of both. I like to stay back in school or in the library and read to an extent, then go home, rest, and then wake up later. So I like early mornings because my brain is refreshed, I'm less tired, and I'm not feeling sleepy. If it's those late nights, if I don't have a good rest during the day, I would feel sleepy during the night. So I kind of prefer early mornings.
What's one thing you wish you knew before your induction?
This is a funny one because I think for me, one thing I wish I knew before induction ceremony would be not to do too much makeup. Because now as ladies, we all wanted to look good, extra good, and do some makeup and all of that. But I noticed that like after my induction, some people did not even recognize me. They did not know like it was me on that day of induction. Like a very practical experience. Like thank God I got an award for best in Chem part during my induction ceremony. So when I was working in UBTH, I went to a particular department, and then I heard some girls talking, and they were like students, and they're like, is this not that girl that was best in Chem part? They were kind of confused, like they don't know if it was me or if it wasn't me. And I did not really have energy to start explaining, so I just did what I wanted to do there and I left. But somehow in my mind I was like, can imagine, so they did not even know that it was me anymore. So like sometimes I think that was just like the only thing I would say I wish I knew before induction ceremony, because my induction was very sweet.
Are you serious? Final words, complete the sentence. You are not a medical laboratory scientist until you have.
So to wrap it up, I would say you are not a medical laboratory scientist until you have gone through maybe a good internship. So yes, you are not yet a medical laboratory scientist until you've had a well-grounded internship experience, especially in blood banking. Yes, because like for UBTH, the blood banking department will stress you, drain you physically, mentally, emotionally, and you also have to relate with patients. So like most of the things you studied in school, those ethics, it really comes to play in a blood bank setting, because you need to practice patient confidentiality, you need to practice empathy, you need to be dedicated, committed, hardworking. Virtually every skill of a medical laboratory scientist comes into play, and you also need to know how to work under high pressure. So yes, you are not a medical laboratory scientist until you've gone through a rigorous internship experience. So I'd advise you really take that seriously. Don't just joke with your internship time. You have to take it seriously.
Awesome. Thank you for your wonderful responses. I believe that those listening will have gained something that will shape their journey going forward.
Thank you for watching. I am medical laboratory scientist Blessing Omitere Ayeni.
Thank you very much, Blessing, for being on our guest today. We appreciate your time and your words of wisdom. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode. We would love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, and we appreciate your support thus far. If this helps you or inspired you, share with someone, share with a fellow undergrad, and share with a colleague. And if you'd like to know more about the bench and will work with us, do also send us a message via our Gmail. Thank you very much. See you on the next episode.